that's kind of how I started carnivore, but it's not really why I'm still doing it.
Nicole, how did you find carnivore?
I found carnivore in a roundabout way. I would say that I believed in carnivore and knew a lot about it for a couple of years before I ever tried it. And the reason I first kind of got interested in it was keto. It was because I was worried about my mom who had type 2 diabetes. And I've also always kind of been interested in health topics. So I was learning all I could about keto and, resolving type 2 diabetes or reversing it. And, um, and then also my husband, he was familiar with keto and wanted to lose weight. And he had actually tried the Atkins diet like 20 some years ago, and that had worked well for him at the time. So my husband and I started doing keto together. I was doing it not necessarily to lose weight, but just to kind of be on the same page and make everything easy. And I did want to eat healthier. And so we did that for a few months, and my husband was losing weight on the keto diet, which was awesome for him. I did not lose any weight on the keto diet. I'm not sure why, but I was feeling pretty good. Um, and then still kind of hearing carnivore in the background and learning more about it and just thinking this makes sense, but I just never had whatever it takes to take the first step and try it. Um, then one day I came across this little YouTube clip of this guy who was in his 70s, and he was on carnivore, and he was so happy and he looked so healthy and he was ripped. And for some reason, I sent it to my dad, and I wasn't expecting anything in return because I don't know, my dad has his way of doing things. But it shocked me because my dad came back and said, I want to try carnivore. Tell me how to do it. And I was like, what? and and so I was like, okay, well, I'll do it with you. Um, so to kind of like support him, and it just was so encouraging to me that he did that. And so I was like, let's do it for 1 week. And so I wrote up like a kind of like the principles behind it and an eating plan. And I emailed that off to him. And then we started on a certain date. And so that's how I started carnivore. It wasn't even really, I don't know, a purposeful thing on my part. I was just trying to support my parents. And so 7 days of eating meat that I thought would be so weird and so hard ended up being easy. And I was never hungry, and the food was good, and I felt good. So at the end of 7 days, I was like, I'm going to just go one more week, and this is no trouble, no skin off my back. So I started losing weight right away. And then my husband, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to join you. I'll switch from keto to carnivore." And I was kind of following up with my dad. I was like, "Are you going to keep going?" And I didn't really hear from him. So I figured he probably, I wasn't sure if he was still doing it, but um, that's kind of how I started carnivore, but it's not really why I'm still doing it. So when people ask me now, like why I do carnivore, the reason is because of anxiety and depression. And I didn't used to think though those were real things, um, which I know sounds horrible, but I kind of just figured, like if you were sad, it was because your life was really hard, or that, you just didn't have the skills to overcome it. And anxiety, I don't really think I thought about too much, although I was living in a constant state of anxiety. But I think sometimes you're in that state and you don't even realize it. And anyway, my life, kind of up until I was about 43 years old, I would describe as a good life. I had family that loved me. Um, I was happy. And when when I turned 43, it was like I fell off a cliff. I don't know why. I think it was because of hormones, and also some hard things that we were going through at the time. But that's when I realized that depression and anxiety is a real thing. And it's a physical thing that happens in your body. It's not just psychological or emotional. And so um, I think we say the words depression and anxiety a lot, especially in this community. And it's easy to kind of gloss over what that actually looks like. So I'll just tell you really quick what that looked like in my life. So I went from being a happy, involved, creative person, a parent. I was happily married, had friends, to not being able to really leave the house because I didn't want to be around people. And I also didn't want to be alone. I was crying all the time. I couldn't sleep at night. I lost 30 pounds, which I've never lost weight in my life. Like, I love food. If I've tried to lose weight and I couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, it was like I couldn't swallow anymore. I physically had a hard time swallowing. I was crying all the time. I would look at myself in the mirror and I hated what I saw. And that was not like me. I've never felt that way before. I would have horrible night sweats. It was so bad that I would have to change my clothes, change the bedding, sleep in a different place. I felt immense shame. And it's like, where is this coming from? I would also have obsessive thoughts. Like, they would just go on a circle, negative, obsessive, the same thought over and over about things that were not true. So I learned that those are very real things. And then I was like, well, what do I do to fix this? I could barely take care of myself, let alone my family. And I can easily see how something like that could tear a family apart. I would say the only reason that we got through it is because of my faith in God. And so I knew that, like, no matter how alone I felt, I wasn't really alone. And then my husband, he loved me. He loved me through that. And then his mom, my mother-in-law, she was there for me every day. So I thought I was going crazy, and I didn't know what to do about it to fix it. So I went to a naturopath, and she did some I sat in her office and bawled and basically begged her for help. And she's like, so she gave me some tests. And one thing we did find out was that I was probably gluten intolerant. So I immediately stopped eating gluten. I was terrified to eat gluten because I was like, if that's what's making me feel this way, I'm terrified of that. I stopped drinking alcohol, which I wouldn't say I was a heavy drinker, but I did drink, like a glass of wine 2 or 3 times a week. So I immediately stopped that. But nothing helped. And um, I was even having like panic attacks, heart palpitations. I lost who I was. I was a completely different person. So then I go to my PCP because I didn't feel like the naturopath was able to solve my problem, although she got me closer, I think. Um, my PCP prescribed antidepressants, and I had the prescription in my hand, and I just felt shame about going on the medication, which I already, when you're depressed, you already feel shame about everything. So that was not helpful, but um, I could have gone and gotten the prescription filled, but I didn't. So for 2 years, this is going on, and I'm suffering, and everyone around me is suffering. And I didn't, and finally, I don't know what caused me after I got that prescription. A year later, I went and saw another doctor and finally went on the antidepressants. And it was like a week or two later, I felt like myself again. I felt better. So to me, like going on the antidepressants was like a lifesaver. I wish I had done it sooner. And when she put me on the antidepressant, she said, this is for 6 to 9 months, and then you should go off of it. It's not meant to be, a lifelong thing. So I would try to go off of them, but then my symptoms would start coming back. So I just stayed on them. And that was for 5 years that I was on them. And that was good, I guess. I mean, but always in the back of my mind, it's like, this is not supposed to be permanent. This is supposed to just get you through. And so, but every time I try to go off of them, my symptoms start coming back. So what do I do? And so then, that ties into, that whole story of carnivore allowed me to get off the antibiotics. So I stay on carnivore because I don't want to be on antidepressants forever. And I don't want to feel depressed or anxious. And I'm also scared of going through, like in my old age, I'm scared of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's because my husband's father died of Parkinson's, and it was very hard to watch him go through the mental changes of that. And I do think that his illness was related. He had type 2 diabetes. He was loved his desserts. And I do feel like it had something to do with that. But yeah, I've come to learn that antidepressants are not necessarily bad, but if you can solve the problem without them, or at least, get to a place where you're stable and can wean off of them slowly, then carnivore is the way to solve that.
So for you, was it a situation where you went on carnivore and then realized you didn't need the antidepressants, or was it you stopped the antidepressants, went carnivore, or?
Yeah, I was on the antidepressants and doing okay. Like I was stable. I didn't, I wasn't super low or super high as far as my mood. Between like depression and anxiety is what I'm talking about there. But when I started carnivore with my dad. I was like, this is my chance to, because I had been learning about how the the natural fats in the carnivore diet um, can help with depression and anxiety. So that was in the back of my mind. And then I was like, okay, my dad and I are doing this. And I was like, this is my chance to get off the antidepressants and see if carnivore can get me back to where I was without the antidepressants. And it did. It did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so this is a big change. Um, how did you feel as you like when you kind of realized, oh, I don't need these anymore? What was that like?
It was very it was very freeing because when you're dependent on a medication and you don't know what the bad what this bad side effects could be, um like the long-term side effects, it's kind of like you're always just carrying around this a little bit of a burden. It's like I'm feeling okay, but I don't know if there's going to be consequences for these antidepressants later, or I'm dependent on them. What if, heaven forbid, I can't get my refill? Um, it just it's very freeing to know that if you just eat what nourishes your body feels good and your mind feels good. And so it's such a simple answer.
Yeah. And so what changed for you as far as like family dynamics? Did people around you notice?
Um, I don't think anyone noticed like a change in my mood. Um, but I sure did. Like I noticed right away. Like I started writing down all the benefits that I noticed when I started carnivore, and it's like I ran out of room. I just kept thinking of more and more things. Um, so um, I've just learned like so much over this last year of being on carnivore. Um, and so like the benefits that I didn't even realize would happen. Like I was like, okay, number one benefit, I'm off antidepressants and I feel good. But it was better than how I even felt on the antidepressants. I realized I still had anxiety while I was on the antidepressants, and that went away. And I was sleeping better. Um, I my hair has like grown thicker and fuller. Um, my immunity's better. Like this last winter, we had a horrible virus go through the community, and everyone got it, and everyone was so sick. And I didn't get it. I mean, I don't know. I just can't believe I didn't get it. Um, I let's see. I have more energy. Um, and this is a really exciting part to me. It's like because I don't have depression and anxiety, I have room to like be creative and plan things and go on adventures. And so like I even wrote a couple poems which I've never done before, and that's been really fun. They just like came to me. I don't know if it's because like my mind's clearer or what, but that's been really special. I used to wake up in the morning, and when I got out of bed, like I could barely walk. Like my ankles, I felt like were sprained or something. And it would be that way for like 5 minutes until I kind of walked the kinks out of them or whatever. But that's completely gone. I don't have that anymore. Um, what else? I don't know. I feel happy. I look in the mirror and I like myself again. So
And that's such a big thing, right? Because that feeling impacts everything about your day, everything about your life.
yeah, and it makes me sad for people who are struggling with depression and anxiety. And um, it just makes me sad that they are just like, it's like they're barely keeping their head above water. And I feel like now I'm like, like I'm swimming, I'm doing, I'm going somewhere. And I feel like so many people are struggling with those things, depression, anxiety. Um, when I first got on antidepressants, I just thought, well, I'm probably the only person I know that's doing this. But it turns out everyone I know is on antidepressants. Um, even my doctor that I just recently started. Well, I saw him last year, and I was like, I want to get off my antidepressants. And he's like, well, if it helps you, he said, I take them. And then I also tried an online doctor, and I told her, I'm carnivore because I don't want to be on antidepressants. And she said she was probably just being nice and trying to make me feel better. But she's like, well, if it helps you, there's nothing wrong with it, and that's true. I mean, it actually saved me for a time, but um, yeah, I
Mm.
just it's just surprising to me. And has it always been this way? No, it's a new thing that everyone is like feeling this way, and it's like, why is this happening? Well, what we're putting in our bodies, it can either poison us or it can nourish us.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
It's interesting when you look at it like that because if it was something else, not humans, like if it was a model of car, for example, and all of a sudden, in a certain time period, you noticed that all of these particular model of car started having engine problems, the exact same kind of engine problems. You would start to go, okay, so what is it that we've done recently that's caused this problem, right? You wouldn't just go, oh well, we'll just put a band-aid on it. You would try and find out what it was, and you'd go, oh, it's because we're using this particular type of gas, or because we're using this particular type of oil or something. We can't use that. Stop using that thing that's making things bad. But we never do it with ourselves. We never go, well, hang on, when did this kind of epidemic of chronic disease start and mental health issues start? Oh, it was around the time that we started just pumping the food system full of garbage.
Yes.
Mm.
Yep. And it's so simple and so obvious. But it's like people that's the other thing I've learned is like you can't tell someone that. You have to wait for them to ask you. And that's so hard because you want to
Yeah,
shout at rooftops.
right. So, how has this been for your parents?
It's been good. Um, I think they're not carnivore, but I think they're definitely more aware now and keto. And I know that my mom knows that it helps. And so it's just a matter of her determining in her mind that does she want to help herself. And it's hard for them because they're social and they go out to eat a lot, and they invite people over for dinner a lot, and go on cruises, and so that's hard, and I get that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so like day to day, what's your eating pattern? Are you eating 2 meals a day?
Yeah, for the most part. We wake up, we have our coffee with um, cream, and then we have steak and or bacon and eggs usually for lunch, and we have steak for dinner. We have chicken. We don't like fish. We didn't grow up eating it, so we're not really used to it, and so we usually just stick with beef or chicken or lamb, pork. Um, I would say when we cheat, we just start eating more vegetables or fruit. Um, but we don't do that very often. And we do eat dairy. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I guess we're technically ketovore. Um,
Right. So, at this stage, you see no reason to go back? Go back would be a massive step backwards.
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm scared of going back to the way I need to eat this way to feel good. And it's no bother. Yeah. It's kind of been cool too, because my husband's been so supportive and interested in it as well. So it's like something we do together. Um, and we feel good about ourselves, and you know, he worked in the medical field for 30 years, and he he just quit because he couldn't take it anymore. Is like it when you go to work every day and the work that you're doing doesn't make sense, and it's super frustrating and discouraging and traumatizing. um it just was wearing him down, and I've worked, in medical offices before, so I have a small taste of that. But just to see him be free of that system, that I mean, it does a lot of good, but it also does a lot of harm. And so to see him be free of that and to try something different has been great. And we no longer have health insurance, and that's okay with us. We've been trying, I don't know what they're called, but it's a new way of paying for your um, healthcare bills. It's like crowdfunding, kind of, I guess. And so we pay cash for what we need as far as seeing the doctor, and then we submit it to this crowdfunding, and we all help pay each other's medical bills. So I feel like there's a little more, you know, it just makes more sense. And it's nice to be free of that insurance system that I think is also pretty broken. Um,
And it's so expensive on a month-to-month basis, and then if you do need to get some kind of medical care, then it's still gonna be expensive, right?
yeah. And we even had like the good health insurance because my husband worked for the hospital, and it's still just, we can't afford it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you you're eating basically 2 meals a day, you're doing really well, you're feeling great. What does the future hold? Like, do you have any kind of feeling about, okay, I want to try something new. I want to travel, or I want to start a new business or something.
Well, I touched on those a little bit. I mean, we did kind of switch careers, so that's really new to us. We're working for an organization that's like kind of like social. We do like social work type work, which feels more fulfilling to us, and it makes sense to us to like be helping people in a practical way. So that is very exciting. I told you I wrote a couple of poems, and so did my mother-in-law. So my nephew's actually going to try to get a book published with the poems in it. So it'll be like a devotional book, and his photography pictures are in it. Anyway, that's something I'm excited about and something new. Um, I don't really feel like I don't know. I just see my husband and I are kind of newly empty nesters. And so, I just, I don't know that we'll do a lot of traveling, but we're going to my son's wedding. And I just see us living an active, full life, not being burdened down by health issues.
Yeah, it's like I'm free now. It's
Hmm.
that nice feeling of being able to just, I can do whatever I want. I'm not tied to medication. I'm not tied to anything.
Yeah.
Mm,
I don't have like worries about it. So.
right. Nice. So Nicole, is there any way that people can reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
I don't do social media, so not really. But I mean, I'm happy to like talk to people in the comments or whatever, like we did last time.
No worries. Well, thank you so much for coming back on and sharing your story and your update with us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dave. Take care.